Hi, how's everyone? Everyone good, good. I'm Leah, just as mentioned, and I'm part of the youth group here, which I'm very passionate about, and yeah, like we said, set to relaunch soon as Counterculture.
Come on!
Okay, so I'm going to start with the verse, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see. Sometimes God can ask us to do what seems like the most terrifying thing. He can ask us to jump over ravines, and sometimes the other side can seem like it holds the worst, or you can't even see it. Faith is just taking that leap, no matter how wide it is, and having faith that God will be there on the other side, ready to catch you. That leads me on to a story of mine. So in the summer after year 8, I moved house from Harrow in northwest London to southwest London, meaning I also had to move schools. It came as a bit of a shock to me, and it left me feeling miserable. I had to leave behind the friends that I'd made in the 2 years I'd been at secondary, and I had to try and make new ones. At this point, I was really shy, and I found talking to new people really difficult. The fact that I really didn't want to move didn't make it any easier. So I started a new school in the beginning of October. I hated it. I barely had any friends, and I felt so out of place. I just had a few people I'd tag along with at break and lunch, and I didn't know anyone, and no one really tried to get to know me. I felt like an insignificant nobody in a sea of judgy teenagers, and being a teenager myself, I know how scary we can be. So for 2 months, every morning, I'd feel sick with nerves just at the thought of going to school. Almost every day, I'd be in tears on the way there. It was the worst, and I vowed myself never to move schools again. And so, just my luck, guess what happened after 2 months? I got offered a place at another school. So we went to visit it, and it seemed perfect. It was close to my house, it had a pretty good music block, and the school was run using Christian values. I felt like God just gave me so many signs that this was the place for me. I was hopeful that I'd finally found a place where I'd be happy. The only thing holding me back was that I didn't want to go through the same process all over again, of having to force myself to talk to people who didn't necessarily want to talk to me, or having to repeat my name 1,000,000 times to every teacher. I was starting to get used to the nerves I felt every morning, and I was beginning to feel okay with not being okay. I was so worried moving once more would just turn out the same, and I'd have to live through all of that a second time. I was on the edge of a cliff, and before me was a steep, steep drop. I needed to make a jump to the other side, even if I had no idea what would be waiting for me there. I just needed to take that leap of faith that God wasn't going to let me down. I needed to take that leap of faith that it would all turn out fine. I was so doubtful that things would go well, and I was terrified that I'd just go through exactly the same thing as I did when I first moved. But I did it, and I listened to what God was telling me. On my first week there, I met the very people I call the best friends I've ever had at any school. I'm enjoying my lessons, and my path seems pretty good for my GCSEs. In that time, I started going to youth here, and I've met amazing people who I consider my second family. My social skills have been getting so much better, and I've been pushing myself out of my comfort zone a lot more. My confidence in general has boosted massively. Also, I've grown so much in my relationship with God. I got baptized last June, and I've been doing so much more with my faith. In October, I was even part of the 4 young leaders who went to the States to grow our youth group here in London. This wouldn't have happened without that leap of faith. That very leap of faith that seemed like a shut your eyes and hope for the best type of moment. But even if I had my eyes closed, God knew exactly what was on the other side. Okay, let's go back to the verse. Faith is confidence in what we hope for. In any decision we have to make, we always hope that we come out with the best outcome. And having faith is believing that although it may not seem like the consequences are bright, or it doesn't turn out how you want to, it will all fall perfectly into place in God's own time and plan. Faith is assurance about what we do not see. We live by faith and not by sight. Faith is not needing visual evidence to believe that God has a way for you. Faith is trusting the path that God is leading you down, even if it stretches past the horizon and you can't see a clear destination. You may not always know why God's telling you to jump the ravine. The other side may be completely obscured from your vision, and you have no idea what awaits you. You've just got to have faith that as soon as your foot lands on that other side, God will be there to catch you. Thank you.